Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. This is You Too Can Be Great. This is my Real Housewives of Potomac reunion part 2 review. I will say that part 2 reunion wasn't as eventful as part 1. There were some points and some fun parts and some reads that I want to touch on, but other than that, it wasn't as good. I almost feel like it was a filler in certain areas because there was some boring ass shit that went on, but let's get into it. So we start off from where we left off last episode, where we're talking about Candace's mouth. Now, I only feel like the reason why Candace's mouth, now some of you might not like this, is a big issue is because fans or people who watch the show are maybe starting to complain about her or say that she's going too far or her, she's saying too much. But I didn't heard some crazy ass shit in several Housewives franchises. We didn't have Kim Fields called racist. She's been called a hoe. She's been called, they've been telling her, close your legs to married men. We didn't have Phaedra being called a hoe. Phaedra called Kenya a hoe. Kenya has supposedly went after Phaedra's husband and her family. Then we didn't have a lot of Cynthia telling Phaedra that she needs to go ahead and win a case, attacking her. Then we had Phaedra accuse Kandi of allegedly drugging, supposedly wanting to drug and rape or have sex with Portia. We didn't have some crazy ass shit, and Kenya had already had the blowhorn turned to Portia talking about you are a slut from the 80s. There has been a lot of gutter reads that a lot of people have gotten on this franchise. For Candace to be on the chopping block for a yo mama comment, child. I use your mama all the time. I used to use it all the time when I was a kid. If somebody tells me something stupid, your mama. I don't care about your mom's past. I don't care about your mom, what she did. I don't care if she's paraplegic. I don't care whatever circumstances that she's in. I do not care because that does not factor into me telling you your mama. I told you your mama because you insulted me. So I feel like the reason why they're going after Candace so much is because of first of all, the fans might not like her, and it seems like every season there's always that one person that people want to like put the heat on and take away from other people. Giselle was all for supporting Candace last season, left and right, when she wanted Monique off the show. And her and Robin kept tag teaming Monique and making her seem like she was just this bad person. And Ashley, now trying to join the Green Eyed Bandits, went off on Monique saying she was aggressive, using a lot of trigger words that she used for brown folks. She was doing all that shit. Now that Monique's gone, Candace, you the next target, boo-boo. And these people that are supposed to be your friend's child, do you see how they are treating you like you are insane? Candace has a mouth. But then the next segment they went over was Mia's social media rampages that she goes on. Mia also has a mouth on social media. Mia tried to lie to us and tell us that she has people who manages social media, so she doesn't know what they're putting in. Bitch, some of the things they're putting in are very personal, and you have to have been there for them to know what to write on there. So it was you, bitch. Stop lying. Because some of the stuff that she said, she's always talking about how much money she makes. She's always talking about how the money she makes basically puts her above everybody else. Scala clocked her ass and told her that it was a form of classism for her to keep doing that and saying that and acting like people on that panel are some piss poor people on Skid Row compared to what she makes. Bitch, you are not Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, nor are you the most richest, or you're not even close to Oprah, bitch. So shut the hell up and stop reminding us how much you make. We don't care. Because people who make real money don't just throw it in your face like you do. Something is wrong with you. You probably feel some form of insecurity. That's why you feel like you have to tell people how much you make all the time. And then they also brought up the fact that Candace did talk about how Mia tried to blame her if her mom decides to relapse or something. And I was very happy that Candace and Wendy let her know, I will not be responsible for another grown-ass woman's behavior, especially not one that's older than me by a lot. If she goes and relapses, it's unfortunate if she does, but bitch, I'm not taking the responsibility for that because you brought her ass on this show. Knowing how shaded this show is, you brought your mama who, if you say she could relapse, is probably still mentally fragile about her past. This might not be the best platform to bring her in. And Mia said, oh, my mom wanted to tell her story, but bitch, your mom wasn't the person hired on the cast. She don't have a peach. So what are you saying? You made her your storyline, Mia. Tell the truth. Because if your mom had a peach, then I would understand her trying to tell her story. You try to tell her story to help justify how you feel, or to not justify, but to vent about your past and how you felt as a child and how it molded you into the person that you are today. But bitch, your mama didn't come up here talking about, let me tell people I was on crack or heroin or meth or whatever the hell she was doing. You wanted to do that. And you put it out there for millions of people to know that your mom was a drug addict, which means that millions of people out there, some of them would throw shade at her. We didn't have so many crackhead jokes and Judge Mathis child. She ain't new. So all this stuff against Candace, I don't think it's fair. I think it's bullshit, to be honest. I think it's just, yes, Candace has a mouth on her, but I think that considering what I'm going to go through, everybody has a mouth on them. So we have Karen's segment with her calling Giselle a hot box comes up, and they talk about hot box in the blogs, the same blogs that apparently were the ones who made up Eddie and Wendy's marital affair situation going on. That is the same blog that also said that Giselle may have STDs, but nobody was talking about Giselle having STDs on the show because it wasn't true. But Giselle brought something specific from that blog that was about Wendy's life to make herself relevant on the show. Bitch, it was all very calculated. It wasn't because you cared about Wendy, whatever. But they're talking about it, and Karen also, they bring up Karen calling Giselle a drunk, telling her that there's something wrong with her. All this shit that they're going to, calling her a hoe. All this extra stuff that they're doing, talking about Candace, your mouth is reckless. All y'all mouth is reckless. So I don't feel like it's fair to be doing all that shit. Then we talk about, they brought up Wendy and Eddie, and Giselle deflects and talks about how Wendy side-eyed Grace, her daughter. And they flash back to it. I said, bitch, where's the side eye? What are you talking about? Karen went and told Giselle that her talking about Ray will be dead before she loses all her looks. And Karen says, my children were offended. Giselle went and said, well, my children were offended when you did this. Then Wendy's talking to her about her family. Giselle's gonna say, well, you did this to my daughter. Giselle, shut the fuck up and open your mouth and humble yourself and understand when you did something wrong. You did something wrong. And no, Wendy did not side-eye your daughter, Grace. Wendy apologized, but I don't know why she did. I didn't see it. It had nothing to do with Grace. Wendy has no issues with Grace. Wendy has never had beef with a child. Not on this show that I've seen. So for you to bring that shit up, you were just deflecting as usual, Giselle, because you want to take responsibility for the fact that you went to that same blog you know tells lies and try to use Wendy as your storyline, but you thought you could apologize after that and things will go back to normal. But she ain't letting you off the hook, and you want to have her talking about you need to apologize to Grace. Well, bitch, go and apologize to her kids then for what you did. Then we had, and I know somebody told me in the comments, you seem to not like Giselle. Let me be abundantly clear. I will read every single person on this show if they do stupid shit. Giselle has yet to apologize to Wendy for what she did. When she apologizes to Wendy for what she did and means it and stops trying to deflect and act like she was not in the wrong completely, then I will start being nice to her. And yet then I will start being a little bit lenient in what I say in my reads. Until then, bitch, your ass is on the chopping block. The same thing went for Candace and Mia until Candace apologized to Mia. But hell, Mia doubled down on the statement that Candace's video was low budget. So Candace doubled down on your mama. So I'm going to keep reading people until they do what's right. Okay. Now we have Ashley's postpartum and placenta peeling segment coming up. It was boring as hell because I don't want to be talking about nobody's placenta. Then we have, why is somebody asked, a fan asked, why is Candace so nasty to Ashley about her postpartum body? And Giselle decides to insert herself. She hasn't even finished the whole Wendy segment part. Yeah, I was a little bit, surprised when you said something about her postpartum body. This woman just had a baby. And I do not like it when people try to pick and choose when I get to insult you if you have insulted me or if you have mistreated me. That shit pisses me off. You cannot come. It is a form of manipulation. When you focus too much on the person's reaction than the actual act that caused that reaction. It is a form of manipulation. If you insult me and you continue to insult me, and I've told you to stop insulting me, and you continue to do it, and my reaction becomes swift and hell of a lot worse than what you expect, it is a form of manipulation to go to me and tell me, well, I didn't think that you should have done this. Bitch, it wouldn't have happened if you didn't insult me in the first place. Why don't you go and fix the real cause of it because you were warned? So when Giselle is sitting up here, Ashley went and wrote a letter for Monique supporting her. It was support for Monique, who was her friend, when she was being charged for assault. Candace did everything in her entire power to get money for that assault. And Ashley writing that letter probably had a huge impact on that case. So Candace is holding a grudge onto that. So whenever Ashley opens her mouth or even breathes the same air, Candace is going to go after her because she feels some type of way. Now, Candace also says something like, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to forgive her because, I hold a grudge and because she's still friends with her. Let's be clear, Candace, you're acting like a child. You do not have a right to tell another grown woman who she can be friends with. Ashley has her own opinion, just like everybody else. If Karen's still friends with Monique, and Candace is not giving Karen the same energy that she's giving Ashley because she has a personal vendetta against Ashley. That's what it is. So, and then Candace brings up the fact that Ashley goes after her, called her hair dry, and her 4C hair dry, when Candace is going after her forehead, and colorism comes up in the topic. And Wendy asks Ashley, do you feel like there's a form of colorism within this group? Because Ashley said that she knows racism and colorism and stuff like that exists. Ashley says no, she doesn't believe it occurs in this group, but Ashley was already clocked last season for using words like aggressive. Giselle and Robin have been clocked for using particular words against Wendy, say, oh, she's aggressive, she's this, when Wendy is speaking very eloquently to these two grown adults. But when they reach their point where they have to be on the defense and the back is against the wall, they use trigger words that are usually assigned to dark African-American women when they speak. Oh, you're too loud. Oh, you're too aggressive. Oh, you're being this. You're too much. You're too that. Bitch, I'm nothing other than who I'm supposed to be. If you're uncomfortable, fix yourself. So Ashley denying that there hasn't been any colorism behavior in this cast is incorrect. Probably because she's married to a white man and she's not able to see it when it happens. And there is white privilege, because we saw that Michael shit that she was doing, expecting an apology and not taking responsibility for nothing, as if you were innocent in the entire argument that occurred between Chris and himself. It exists on this show, girl, Ashley. And if you're blind to it, then you don't have a right to speak on something that you're clearly oblivious to, because it's not something that you have experienced. There is a quote that says that people who have experienced abuse are more likely than anyone to recognize it when it's happening. People who have experienced racism are more likely to recognize it when it's occurring. People who have experienced colorism to the extent that they have are more likely to recognize it than those who haven't. Ashley's a biracial person, but she is on the lighter hue. And she is married to a white old man. So the chances of her having experienced certain things that maybe Wendy or Monique has, it's different. Doesn't mean that Ashley doesn't experience colorism. I'm sure she has. But Ashley's not able to recognize that there has been moments on the show where I myself have spotted it. I just didn't think that when it was said for that purpose. I think it was just people being angry and not knowing what else to say other than that, because their intellectual capacity is not high enough to come up with any other combats other than that. So I'm thinking that that's basically what the cause is. But Ashley did say this, and Wendy just nodded her head and even want to touch that subject, even though she knew Ashley didn't even understand what she was saying. Then we have the topic of Zen Wen and Wendy's plastic surgery segment coming up. And they show everything, show Wendy talking about her body, and then they bring it up. And Robin says something like, I was concerned about you. And Wendy said, no, bitch, you told me I was loose. You told me that I was loose. And then Robin now backtracks and said, well, that was the wrong word. I was just trying to say that the person that we saw from last year, Dr. Professor, the person, Dr. Wendy, who has all these degrees, is different instead of me saying loose. But y'all also said that she lacked substance because she had her body done. So Wendy looked at her, which is, as I said, you had liposuction done or whatever you had on your body. Did it keep Jamal? If you're trying to say that me doing something or upgrading something on my body is the reason to keep a man, especially when you just admitted that what you saw on that blog between myself and my husband was a lie, why the fuck would you not parade it in the entire show that the reason I had some work done is because my husband and my husband had done something to me? All this is bullshit that Robin and Giselle are doing. None of you guys want to take responsibility for the fact that you guys tried to make this girl your storyline and she got y'all good. Robin does not have a storyline at all, except Giselle's asshole. Giselle doesn't have a storyline at all because she not with Jamal, and she didn't want to bring her relationship or anything about her family on the show. So she decided to use Wendy as her point, and it backfired completely. That's what it did. I can't think of a single thing Giselle did on this show that was her life other than what she did with her Motel 6 in the making. The public park that she's still creating and calling it a home. There is nothing that Giselle brought on this show that was anything pertinent. So they both try to use Wendy for their storyline, but Wendy read them for filth. She did. Then they bring up Wendy's candle, and Wendy says that hers is a 5-7 wick. And Andy does touch on something I mentioned in my previous reviews, if you guys saw it, that it seemed like Karen was being shady, because she'll give Wendy advice on what she should do, but in her comments she'll say mine is a 3 wick, Wendy's is a 1 wick. And Wendy caught that shade, but she's not trying to go after Karen right now. Karen was being shady and Karen was being sneaky, but Mia now brought herself into the candle business trying to be shady as hell, brought her own candle out called Karma, and she didn't have hers out in stores before Wendy got hers out. And then that's another way of trying to show classism and put her candle out there being petty, like I got more money to do this right now, I'm a business person. Mia has some growing up to do as well. That spirit that she has in her that makes her feel like she has to put other people down because of her financial standing is an insecurity issue. And I know that that's going to be brought up in the next episode because they're talking about how who tossed who salad on the show. Then they did bring up the relationship with Eddie again as the finale, and they asked Wendy how she felt, and Wendy said everybody here knew that blog was a lie, and that without Giselle bringing that topic on the show, maybe 100 people would have seen it, but millions of people watched the show, and a lot of people tend to have an opinion on things that they're not supposed to have opinions on. You brought that shit here and you brought it up. You're trying to say that you were doing it to help me, but you also went and said other things after that that did not sound like you were trying to help me. And then when I tried to check your ass, you now came back and tried to justify it, talking about I didn't have any substance, or if you want to talk to me later, come talk to me. And Giselle was pressed to try and get Wendy's attention because she knew she fucked up. And she still doesn't want to humble herself and apologize. Giselle is being stubborn and Karma is a bitch. And then they did show the next episode of this doing next week with actual Wendy putting Robin on blast. Bitch, don't say you don't know, by bringing up a text message that she blew up, trying to corroborate the story that these bitches are lying and they're full of shit. So I can't wait for that to happen. I think that's the one that Nicki Minaj comes out. Hopefully her lawsuit is settled before she walks her ass up on this show, but who knows? But that was the extent of this reunion. I would give it a not so great compared to the first one, and compared to last season was fire. Can't nothing beat that yet. But we'll see what happens. I haven't watched Salt Lake City yet. Last week I was too tired and too out of breath to do it. But I'm going to try to do this one this week if I have time. If not, then just look out for it. You guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.